So yesterday, a creator sent me a screenshot of an image of another creator being hyped that a brand was following them. So probably Instagram brand just started following them. They shared that follow on their stories and were hyped about it. And then the creator that took a screenshot said, this is why brands want to work with creators on social versus on YouTube Shorts. And I've known this. Right now, most brands, when they do brand deals, especially with creators of short form, it's not on YouTube Shorts. It's almost always on either TikTok or Instagram. It's dependent on the creator themselves where they have the following, but they almost always come in a pair now. So if you have to, like for us, we don't have TikTok, but it's always in the briefs, like Instagram and TikTok. Almost never YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts is something you kind of offer them, even if a creator has more influence on YouTube. And the reason I bring it up is what this creator said is very important, probably very accurate. The brands that want to work with short form creators on these short form platforms, specifically Instagram and on TikTok, they value the content, and the reach. So obviously we've talked about how short form creators, when they work with a brand, it basically turns into a commercial.
Yeah.
But there's another reason why they want to work with these creators, which is they know they're going to get tagged and they're going to have some runoff subscribers or runoff followers, right? Both on TikTok and Instagram. And it's just something I never really put into the equation. I thought, that totally makes sense, because what do we know that the brands do once they run a campaign? They have this commercial-like piece of content that the creator puts out on their platform. A lot of people go to follow them. And if people follow the brands on social media, multiple things can happen. Number one, they can put out organic posts directly to the people they want to reach.
Yeah.
Two, they can run ads more accurately because, there's ways on the ad platforms to target your followers, right? So it can be very specific and targeted. And three, it just raises your authority and clout, I guess you could say, because if a brand has more followers, it just looks better versus a brand that has no followers or very little followers.
It's kind of like a litmus check at the very beginning.
Totally. Just like the way, a lot of creators know we don't value subscribers and followers in terms of the number like we once did, or at least the industry doesn't, because oftentimes that overshadows how many views you actually get. But there's still a authority with the higher the number is, right? 100,000, 1 million, 10 million. And it's the same with brands. There is that clout that they have or that authority. And frankly, just it helps their content.
Yeah.
Because brands are not experts at creating content, but they do create content. And when they do, of course you want views, because, what's worse than having like no followers is like not getting a reach for your content.
So what you're saying is that, we've talked about this in the past, right? There's a lot of different things that a brand is sort of paying for that are maybe abstracted or hidden by the word brand deal when people are going to.
Compared to long form.
And actually just compared to the old days in general, right? So we've talked about like short form, for example, you're getting talent, you're getting editing, you're getting the production cost, you're getting ideation, you're getting, like you might be getting literal campaign ideas and things like that. And that's all on top of like maybe a sale, if that's what you're looking for at the end of the day, right? But in this case, you're also potentially getting something like a follower, right? And if you get that follower, is what you're saying, is that's its own value on top of everything else. And I don't know if this is what this creator was saying or the example that you're giving, but it sounds like that is something that brands are looking for in the kind of mix and bundle of things that they're getting when they're paying for brand deals. And there's a clear distinction between Instagram, along with TikTok, they're sort of together, and then YouTube over here on the other side, who doesn't have that social aspect.
Yes, it goes farther than that, though, in regards to YouTube. So it's not just YouTube Shorts, it's YouTube in general. A lot of brands don't have a strong presence on YouTube because whether it's perceived or real, it's more work to have a YouTube channel for a brand. It's more work to create content, at least the way they want to do it, right? Highly produced, polished, really, great quality. So in addition to the fact that they want to be present on Instagram and TikTok and, have more followers over there, even if they wanted to do YouTube, it's perceived as being too hard. So YouTube Shorts kind of inherits that, as well as YouTube Shorts isn't really part of a social platform. Does that make sense?
That does.
Like there's no DMs, there's no shareable kind of function on there, and ultimately people go to YouTube for a different purpose. So YouTube as a big clump. So the reason I bring this up is I've been doing long form now for 17 years and getting brand deals all that time. It's been almost exclusively for a very, very long time on YouTube long form until other platforms started showing up. So it's like YouTube plus this, right? And sometimes they come to us for Instagram, but they love the long form as well. So it's paired or whatever, like kind of come to an agreement that we would give them like a bigger deal, multiple platforms. But more and more, the question has been, why do brands almost obsess over Instagram, TikTok, even if the creators have a bigger platform? And this is one of the variables that I didn't really see or understand or realize until now. I'm just kind of connecting all the dots. So that's another thing too. YouTube still gets lots of brand deals. In fact, I'm hearing more and more that long form brand deals are growing in terms of this opportunity. But the thing that hasn't changed is having a presence on YouTube is more through the content versus the brand, like on social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram, through their own platform, right? Through their own profile there versus their own channel on YouTube, because it's generally harder, or at least perceived as being harder, to have a YouTube channel for a brand, which there's some truth to it.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I think that like in those short form platforms, everything kind of ends up looking the same. And that goes actually, I mean, you've talked about this when it comes to like creator brand deals, right? Like the creator content becomes entirely an ad in some cases, right? So what's really the difference between running that on a creator's page or on a brand's page? And we see that like creators will allow licensing to happen with their content that they're creating for these brand deals to show up on brands' pages. We've talked about this before, right? And it's kind of easier to distinguish on YouTube, in my opinion, right? And maybe part of that is just the amount of time you spend with someone in terms of a YouTube video. It'd be hard for a brand to really justify that in most cases for an individual user, unless they're providing like a lot of value, like educational value or entertainment value or otherwise. Whereas YouTubers end up being a little more pure in that regard, and is maybe one way to think about it. So let me ask you a question then. In terms of like packaging a brand deal, say you're a short form creator, right? And you're trying to come up with a way to get a brand to pay more, for example, for syndication to shorts. How would you do that? Is that even realistic? What's sort of the like brand deal landscape around that? Like if you're thinking about how you'd end up packaging those things, putting price tags on things, what are the ways that you would advocate for something like that? Or do you think it's like just a reality and it will never change?
Yeah. So it is a reality that could change. I wouldn't say it would never change, but right now the reality is they don't care as much about it. And my whole point is that even if you bring it up, they want that followership on those social media platforms,
because social is so important,
way more than YouTube, because they're maybe not even over there.
Yeah.
Or if they're over there, it's just kind of like there to be there, to have like, how everyone has a website, like they just need a channel, but they don't manage it. They don't pay attention to it. Another reason why a brand, and we should get a brand in here one day to talk, but why a brand wouldn't be on there is also they need to manage the PR side of it. See, it's already enough to manage PR on Instagram and TikTok or other social media, but then to add YouTube to the mix, they have to tread lightly on everything they do, because you never know what could happen, right? So YouTube is like, hey, they play it safe. They have some brand promotion stuff. They maybe feature their products or different parts of their products, maybe do something once in a while, but it's not taken very seriously. How would you get them interested in YouTube Shorts? Well, first off, you tell them about it.
Yeah.
Because they might not, it might not even be on their radar. Because the thing is, sometimes they will want to work with you if what? Why would a brand who's looking for Instagram content and maybe a bonus syndication to TikTok want YouTube Shorts, even if they didn't know you had a YouTube Shorts presence?
I have no idea. I mean, just reach?
Reach,
Okay,
right? Like,
yeah.
okay, I work with a creator right now, has way more reach on YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
So it's dumb not to at least bring it up, because once in a while you can do it. But guess what I found in my experience? Even if that reach is massive, it doesn't really get a lot of
monetary value on the other side.
well, yeah, it doesn't get the kind of attention, respect, and value like compared to on Instagram. That's the craziest thing. The Instagram views could be lower than the YouTube Shorts, but the YouTube Shorts still isn't a serious consideration, even if you bring it up. The second thing I would do, right, is tell them why YouTube Shorts is different. See, this is where you get into the return pitching. So the thing that's different about YouTube, Instagram, what's kind of the big thing that YouTube brings to the table that no other platforms have in terms of behavior?
Well,
from a viewer standpoint.
long form, but in particular TV viewing.
Yeah, but it's even simpler. That go back to the Google days. It's search. It's a search engine.
Yeah, search engine. Yeah.
And what are people doing? People are searching on YouTube and they're watching shorts, more shorts.
I will say that I do think that there is a big contingent of like a younger audience, at least in particular, who is mostly on TikTok anyways, that is using TikTok in a similar way to do some of the searching.
So you see what I'm saying? So even though I just gave this great argument, TikTok is actually inviting a behavior that YouTube used to have a monopoly on.
That's very true. Yeah.
So when you're then it's like, what if like the brand person goes, oh, actually we were trying to reach the audience that's on TikTok, right? That also searches on there. Do you know, like my kids just search on there? I search on there. Like some of these kids are now working at these agencies or working at the brands,
true,
right?
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother factor, by the way. Just the people that started using TikTok in the 2015 to 2019 era as kids when it was Musical.ly are
now
no longer
graduated
kids.
College, they're in these
Exactly, right? So if you just do the math, like say they graduated in 2019, right? Horrible time to graduate, pandemic 2020. But you're talking they're 24 years old. They're in that working age, or the interns or their assistants, they might be the agents or whatever. So that's another thing too. It's funny because you and I are so pro YouTube. We think YouTube is this amazing thing. And what I just told you is true. YouTube Shorts, I believe, is taking over search results for quick answer type of questions.
Oh, I totally agree.
For like a problem that you need a solution to.
I don't remember the last time I searched on YouTube and it wasn't 4 shorts at the top of the feed.
And when's the last time you wanted the longer, like 4-minute version versus a 40-second? You don't even know. The thing is too with shorts, you don't even know how long it is, but you still click it. Yeah. You just know
it's less than 3 minutes.
The value proposition in terms of amount of time it takes is going to be better. So I just told you a thing that you just like totally shot down. Right?
Sorry about
By
that.
the way, it's fine, but that's kind of my point.
Yeah.
I'm going down the thing. So the last thing would be it converts. You show them that it converts. Now, we're talking about brands. Oftentimes, these are brands with a product, right? And then when you talk about conversion, how do you show that in YouTube Shorts, even if it happens? This is the thing. You don't hear it a lot because it's not the behavior on YouTube. But say you're one of those few creators that you track it, right? You have a link in your description or in the bio of your channel, and you show like, hey, because my creators are so hardcore fans, what goes on TikTok every single day that's just blowing up when it comes to purchasing?
I don't know.
How do people purchase on TikTok right now?
Oh, literally on TikTok Shop? That's very true.
So the ultimate value proposition of short form, this includes both Instagram and TikTok, but everything I just said about why YouTube Shorts could be a great asset to this campaign, it's just so much better over there on these other platforms. So what's happened, I believe, over time, it just is like the redheaded stepchild. It just gets kicked to the side. You don't even notice it. It's like covered in dust, and it could be this shiny thing that once you like take the dust off, it's like actually this is pretty.
Looks like that play button
It's pretty
back
good. But when you just think about somebody's work day and where they're going to get the most ROI, and just where it's become the norm, TikTok and Instagram for short form. That's what's interesting about. Think about this. Going back to basics. Why would short form creators create free content for these platforms to get views even though they don't monetize? How do short form creators get paid?
Brand deals.
So why would you go create YouTube shorts and not get paid? Because the AdSense, though it's okay, right? It's probably better than the other places. It's still really bad for how many views it's required. If you don't have the upside win of the thing, you won't have the motivation to create YouTube shorts. Because for 90% of creators, I would argue maybe even more, kind of the upside financial reward is brand deals when it comes to short form. So if it's not a part of the conversation, it's not taken seriously, and these other short form platforms. This was kind of interesting. I am a YouTube fanboy, okay? I am all
you evangelize
in.
it, yeah.
I am all in. So this is the thing, but I also tell the truth, and I'm also spitting out facts.
Yeah.
YouTube Shorts is not valuable to the rest of the short form world. We're not just talking brands and creators, even to the people that are on there. YouTube Shorts is only for the quick answer, for the quick solution, for the quick hit, the escape, right? But that's all it is. It's kind of like a bonus of your YouTube thing. Like for me, this morning, I'm not supposed to, but this morning, guess what I did? I went to YouTube Shorts and looked a whole bunch of stuff, and I went to Instagram and looked at a whole bunch of stuff. But what does Instagram have that YouTube doesn't? Has that social aspect. So it's DMing friends, or I share one of these Instagram reels to people, right? YouTube is like a dead end. It literally is a dead end if you're just getting the quick hit.
So I guess that's the crazy part to me, because I was thinking the same thing. Like, it's really hard as a creator to justify posting to YouTube Shorts, other than the fact that it's basically the same format as the other one. So it really is only existing in kind of the tailwind of both the other platforms, economically speaking, in that regard.
I know.
And so, like, for YouTube, should they add social features that become something? Like, what do you think? Like, from their perspective, it seems like a huge loss on their part.
They tried with Google Plus.
That's very true. Yeah.
And I'm not saying people shouldn't try again, or platforms shouldn't adjust their strategy. I've always been on the side that platforms should do what they're great at and keep doing it greater than everybody else.
Yeah.
Evolve where necessary. YouTube Shorts, I think ultimately was a smart move, but I've heard through the grapevine, YouTube Shorts ultimately not as valuable as they thought it could be. Definitely gets lots of views. Definitely has a lot of attention on it, and people are using it. But again, most of the YouTube Shorts were just a TikTok yesterday and uploaded as a YouTube Shorts. Rarely that I hear about. I don't know anybody that goes to YouTube Shorts specifically to kind of do the thing they can easily do on Instagram and TikTok if they have those other two platforms. It's just the way it is. So then when you ask me, should Google and YouTube add the social thing? I don't think so, because I always say do what you're great at, okay? So guess what? They're great at giving you a quick answer. It's kind of like, there's these businesses that give free services. Okay, like a attorney, lawyers. Mm-hmm. We all know that they're really expensive. They can be $500 an hour and a lot more. But did you know a lot of attorneys will let you sit in their office for an hour and get a free hour?
Yeah, for like a consultation. Yeah.
For a consultation. And sometimes it actually includes some legal advice.
For sure.
Because they're just like, you don't need me, this or that. That is what YouTube Shorts is. I don't know. I need to see the numbers or read more reports, but YouTube Shorts doesn't have the same upside. And the reason I say is because, by the way, YouTube Shorts might be running ads and making them money, right?
Yeah.
For Google AdSense. What I'm saying though is for the creator, and that's where the magic is.
Exactly.
They're not prioritizing it. It's just a secondary syndication. Upload what I already created on this other short form platform, oftentimes TikTok or Instagram Reels, and I just put it as a bonus. And guess what? A lot of creators don't even do that because it's too much work. When I say too much work, yeah, the 2 or 3 minutes to upload, too much work.
Yeah.
When they could spend that 2 or 3 minutes of that. So it's like everybody is like, yeah, oh yeah, I use YouTube Shorts, but I use TikTok way more because TikTok, that's their game. It's kind of like, we're not even talking about this, but this is why YouTube is dominating, like almost in a sad way compared to the other platforms for long form viewership.
Exactly.
And that's kind of the realization I believe that YouTube's having. So I don't think they're even considering a social aspect at all because guess what?
There's so much upside for the TV.
So much upside for the long viewership, not just the TV though, across all platforms, including the phone, right?
So here's an interesting. I tried to pull some stats, and these are maybe a little stale here, but for cross comparison. The last one I could find for real views across Instagram and Facebook is 200 billion a day in 2023. So I'm sure it's grown a lot since then. The last I could find for YouTube Shorts is actually very recent, June 2025, 200 billion a day. It points out a couple of interesting things. First of all, I'm sure that Reels is still a little bit bigger, but like they're in the same order of magnitude. It's not like there's a huge difference, but it does point to that social sort of difference between the two platforms and maybe the cultural cachet that creates. But also really interesting, I think that, remember when YouTube changed the criteria for what counts as a shorts view? That happened like a few months ago, right? I wonder if that's one of the reasons why they did it. Because they look across the industry and they're like, I'm sure there's a team at YouTube that is doing the shorts things. And they're like, oh, our creators are having to fight way harder for a view. And even if we believe this is right, it's not the industry standard.
And they have to know that they're not getting brand deals on there, or at least they're not that valuable.
Exactly. And so at that point, you have to do whatever you can if you're fighting from behind. But to your point, I'm sure talk about the one that are cast away, the renegades of the group, right? I'm sure that the TV team is having a way better time at YouTube than the shorts team is right now.
Let me tell you this. When's the last time you even registered when a YouTube Shorts went viral?
Literally never.
Literally never.
Literally never.
If it goes viral, it's probably because it went viral on TikTok or Instagram Reels. Yeah. So it just like the most simplest question. When's the last time you saw a YouTube Short? When something goes viral on TikTok or Instagram,
it can literally break outside of the platform. It can break into the culture. The whole Coldplay thing was really like a Reels and TikTok viral moment that broke out into the mainstream.
You should get on the speaker so we can hear you mutually. I would love your thoughts on a couple of these things too, right? Whether we use it or not, okay? Can I hear? I don't have my earphones on, so you're going to have to turn on the speaker for this.
While he does that, I want to say one more thing, which is that I think it also points to the bigger issue of what's going on in the short space overall. Like in a weird way, YouTube, by having this kind of like weird side project of shorts that doesn't monetize as well because it doesn't get the brand deals, right? Shows the real problem with the other platforms, that they rely so heavily on the brand deals for the creative to even make any sense. Like we've talked about this, how shorts isn't necessarily monetizing well on its own. Not YouTube shorts, but short form content in general. Like it's really hard to monetize that. And so what are all the other platforms doing? They're trying to make people hit a 1 minute mark on TikTok so you get paid a certain amount of money to share in the ad revenue, right? Or they're trying to make a app for the TV so that you can watch for longer periods of time. What do you do if you're doing that on YouTube? You just make a long form video and you get AdSense revenue for it. It's kind of crazy, honestly, that by having, I would argue, the more valuable type of content on YouTube, that is actually forcing them into making better decisions for this moment. Now, it might not last forever. Probably won't. It definitely won't. But it does point to the real fundamental economic issues with short form as a whole, because YouTube doesn't get the benefit of being first or being second or being best or whatever you might say that these other platforms get. They don't get the benefits of social and things like that. And so I don't know. I sort of feel like that is the big takeaway from me, which is that for creators, it shows you just how valuable long form is compared to short form.
Producer Nooch.
What do you have for us?
Can I hear you?
It's not. You have to have your headphones on.
We can't hear you. We got.
I have to hear. I'll put the headphones on because I'm actually very curious about what he's gonna say. The fact that he's awake and attentive to everything.
You know it.
All right, mutually.
Hello.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Hold on a second. All right, producer Nooch, one of the greatest of all time. However, not a creator and consumes content probably like the average person would, other than maybe the context you have. But what rings true about what I said? And the reason I'm asking you is because you're of a generation that grew up with short form content the way I grew up with long form content as my resource for things. Tell me about, are people searching on YouTube Shorts or is TikTok dominating there? What's the reality of YouTube Shorts in terms of its kind of clout, I guess you could say, compared to the other short form platforms? And was there anything that you'd critique or correct?
Well, first and foremost, I can say I cannot speak for everyone in my age group, but I would say the point that you guys made about TikTok being the it platform compared to YouTube or YouTube Shorts is 100% correct. The point that you made about, I can't remember the last time something on YouTube Shorts was viral. However, on TikTok, there's so many different trending things and people post to TikTok more frequently because I feel like the algorithm base and the For You page just works better to build the audience compared to YouTube and YouTube Shorts.
It almost took over the viral platform,
mantle.
Yeah, it's just the connection and just the UI, just looks of it, just all in one application, just suits better for my generation compared to YouTube Shorts, where I feel like it kind of just feels so out of reach for them that they want to start on TikTok first. And that's where you see the people from TikTok migrate to YouTube, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
When they mature.
And I think the interesting thing is that it might feel out of reach, but I think as we've explored a lot over the last year, that it's actually easier than ever to start on YouTube. And I would argue easier to start on YouTube than it is on TikTok right now and find an actual career.
I would say too, even for brands, they could also dominate here because there's less brands on it. So this podcast was it was supposed to be a debate, but I feel like I convinced you a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I was actually even sure exactly what you were going to bring to the table. But I think the thing that you brought to me was the idea that having that social piece of it is a direct benefit to brands. It's not even like a cultural benefit in some ways, although they get that too. The fact that they literally get follows on their platform is an undeniable benefit. There's no downside to that. No, there's only upside.
Yeah. And so the last thing I was going to say is I believe that everyone needs to explore long form content if they want to be successful on YouTube.
Yeah.
If they want to get brand deals on YouTube, that's how you set yourself apart. If a brand wants major awareness, you need to start looking to long form. Can you imagine a brand doing a legit show? I bet you it would, as long as the show was good.
Yeah.
And then the brand was in there. It's like the perfect product placement, but it still has to be for the viewer first, not for the brand's promotion of their products or services.
Yeah.
So anyways, if you guys are looking to get into long form, right? You're tired about YouTube Shorts not really performing. You're sick and tired of short form because it's just like a hamster wheel. Go to creatorsecrets.org. I'm teaching everything you need to know about long form, how to create more long form and succeed on YouTube with long form. Last question for you, Nuchali. Do you use YouTube Shorts? Why do you use it? And how much do you use it? And what's your final thought on YouTube Shorts?
Yes, I do YouTube secrets or YouTube Shorts.
You better.
I use YouTube Shorts. I use it when I search for specific things. So I was searching for how to use a specific broadcast camera for the football game this past weekend. And there was actually shorts, and it was quick, simple, tell me everything I needed to do before I watched the 10-minute video. So that's the thing where I like about shorts, where it's quick facts. I don't need to watch the whole thing, and I get my information, and that's it. But that's just me being selfish because I just want it now.
And then I'm going to ask you kind of a math question in relation.
Fun.
Of all the minutes that you're on YouTube, okay, no matter what the device is, how many of those minutes, and you can just make up minutes, right? You can do it out of 100 minutes. Out of 100 minutes, say like you were only watching YouTube for 100 minutes, how many of those minutes are YouTube Shorts versus YouTube long form content?
Would be like 90 minutes long form, 10 minutes of
And
shorts.
that's even more than I would have thought. Okay.
Yeah, me too,
But
actually,
still,
yeah.
90 minutes, basically 90%. Now, yes, Neutrally does not represent all people. I don't even know how old you are. 23, 24? I'm good. Okay. But I'll tell you what, he probably does actually represent the behavior of people his age, because this is what's crazy. You don't even have to be that age. The point is this, right? So he's showing it right now.
Yeah.
8 hours or something.
8 hours. Okay, so 8 hours. 8 hours in a day?
Average of 10 hours and 26 minutes on YouTube.
Per day?
Daily average, yeah.
Okay. Now, I don't know if that's extreme or not, but that shows an even more extreme example of why YouTube Shorts just completely loses. It's funny. The thing that makes YouTube Shorts not succeed is the thing that makes YouTube succeed, which is they go to long form content, right? And they're using YouTube the way they used to use it, but getting on YouTube Shorts. Okay, I want to give one more example, and then I think we should land the plane here.
I totally agree.
I bought a pan in a matter of minutes from one short form piece of content, okay? It was on Instagram. It was a steel pan guy, and he was showing how to make eggs in a steel pan. We had just got rid of our nonstick pan, okay? I bought the steel pan that he was using because the link was in his bio, and he said, hey, go to my bio, the first link, go to it. Bought it, okay? Created a friendship with this guy, right? We're both into cooking content, whatever. Now I watch his content on YouTube Shorts. You know that he's just uploading the same thing, right? But there's been times where I'm like, oh, I kind of want that pan. He says, oh, go to the link in my bio. What is that on YouTube? That's just a description on the channel.
Yeah.
Way more work. He probably has a link. But my point is this. If YouTube had a better culture, a better behavior of creating that sell on YouTube, I would have bought it in the YouTube Shorts. But it's not being used. Now, creators can use it, but they don't know they can use it. If they have tried this, if they really want to push YouTube Shorts and make it monetize for the creators, they need to push that YouTube shopping on there the way TikTok shop is working, because then people want quick. Right now on TikTok, they know if I want this product, you can get it on TikTok shop, right? Instagram, not as likely to convert as quickly, but guess what brands are doing? Running ads.
Yeah.
If I like something and it's a product related, boom. So anyways, this is why YouTube Shorts sucks for almost everybody. I think in some ways for YouTube, it's just a necessity. Like out of necessity, they need to do it. I still think it's important that they do it, because what if they lost that whole audience, right? Neutrally never checks. In his words, 10% of his view time would go elsewhere.
Very true.
Because TikTok could be that thing. Okay. So, yeah.
You've totally convinced me at this point, which is that and I think that the driving underlying factor, even including the shopping example that you just gave, is that economic piece. How are creators actually making money, right? And then there's the other side, which is how are people like Neutrally and even us, right, when we're doing searches, actually behaving? And so there's really YouTube did the best thing that they could given their position, and it set them up for success in the real game that they're playing, which is long form, where they're basically the top dogs and the only ones who are playing that when it comes to creator content.